I have a number of different little things to draw you towards, if you'll give me a couple of moments. I want you to look up here at this beautiful woman up here, not just Nancy, but the woman beside her. This is Allah. Allah, will you stand? She has a new connection that Nancy has made. Nancy's doing lots of different things. You'll want to talk to her about the Sister Jose Center and what's going on there. But Allah is learning how to drive, or needing to, but she needs $300. And I said, we may be able to find $300. So if you want to help Allah to figure that out at all, Nancy here will receive any donations you want to give to help make that happen. Thank you. PCIC is having house meetings right after this. Here's what PCIC is trying to do as we head towards the elections of next year. They want to know what you think, what's important to you, what's disconcerting you. If you'd like to be part of that conversation, this is just the first of them, but they'll be right after this time together, right under the blue tent. Now, it might be chilly, so you might want to wait until another day. But don't tell Martha that I told you that. There'll be plenty of time to be able to get these conversations, but do take time to let your voice be heard as we struggle with what do we do to alleviate some of the non-peace that's around us. These Tihan bags are trying to do that, and there's an opportunity for you to do more than just look at a bag, but on the day that we serve, which is this week, Wednesday, we need more volunteers. So if you can volunteer to help serve at Tihan, Karen over here is the person to talk to. All right? One last thing. Up here, you notice we have an extra candle up here. This is for Robert Eric Turner, who died 20 years ago this month. And so keep them in their prayers as we light this candle for Robert. I saw a bumper sticker that brought me to a place of unpeace this week. It said this: don't believe everything you think. I didn't like it because I like what I think. I hold on to what I think because it gives me comfort and hope and vision and all those good things that I'm trying to look for. But I think it's a true bumper sticker. Don't believe everything you think. You may have a view of the world that isn't always held up perfectly by the facts around it. The other day I was driving down Sabino Canyon Road to come up here to church, and all of a sudden I saw flashing lights in front of me, and a whole line of cars. And I noticed that there was a quick place where I could turn around, so I turned around and went back. I was about a mile up the road, and so I had to go back a mile and go around, but I knew in that moment that I turned around that I made the right choice. I was the faster way. Now, I have no idea if the facts bore that out, but it didn't matter. I convinced myself that I was right. I'd made the right choice. And don't you do that on a regular basis? We do that type of thing to give ourselves a sense of peace, a sense of surety about the choices we've made. It doesn't always mean we're right. We've done a lot of not quite seeking for peace around different issues, different times in our life. We do that corporately even more than what we do it individually. Meg's going to talk to us about a moment where unpeace came into her world and ours.
Good morning. My name is Meg Friedel. Speak closer? Okay. My world of unpeace revolves around gun violence prevention. The first 65 years of my life were remarkably peaceful, rocked by very few deeply unsettling events that I had to deal with. That all changed when a gunman walked into an elementary school in Newport, Connecticut, and killed 20 first-grade children and 6 of their adult educators. December 14th, 2012 reshaped my life in ways that I'm still grappling with. It was something I just could not ignore. I've been asking myself the question for the last 5 years: what is the best way forward? Do we continue with the road of divisiveness that seems to revolve around this issue? Or can we find the courage to stop treating gun violence as a political football and see the grief and heartbreak it causes as a shared human experience? Can we find the strength to work toward a willingness to see the world and this particular issue from another person's eyes? I'm willing to try that. I hope you are. I also want to call your attention to an event tomorrow night here in Tucson. There'll be a showing of the Newtown film at Catalina United Methodist Church on Speedway. There are copies of this flyer available directly outside. Please take one as you leave and join us tomorrow. Thank you.
Sandy Hook was a place of unease. It put an unsettling in our souls. 2 years ago, Simon Carswell wrote about that. And he was writing because San Bernardino had just happened in December of that year too. And he wrote, if Sandy Hook didn't change America's gun laws, nothing will. You see, the unpeace is there, but the question is, are we moving towards peace because of these things? Those empty chairs should remind us to seek for peace. But you know what gets in the way of it? Seeking for what I want. Listening to my opinion, what I think is right. And when I only listen to my own opinion, my own voice, what I get is quiet, not peace. You realize that peace and quiet are not the same, are they? Let me kind of help you to understand the difference. You know, I went up to my brother-in-law's funeral yesterday, and all my family was there. Well, not all of them, but about a third, 50 people or so. We had some new babies. You know, we were together last summer, and 6 months later, we have about 3 new babies, and one that was announced at the reunion and should be here any minute. And often those babies would begin to cry. And appropriately, one of the parents or one of the aunts and uncles or somebody would take that baby outside. That's not peace. That's quiet. Take the noise outside. To get peace, you have to figure out why that baby's crying. Maybe because they're a brat and you correct their behavior. Maybe because they have some need that you need to feel. But just taking them outside and getting them out of the space where they are noisy doesn't bring peace. We have to step beyond just that. We have to figure out how to have quiet. I just want to read something to you. This is from Brother David Stindl-Rast. Peace, the angel announced, but peace is as much task as gift. Only if we become calm as earth, fluid as water, and blazing as fire will we be able to rise to the task of peacemaking. And the air will stir with the rush of wings of angels arriving to help us. This is why I wish you that great inner stillness which alone allows us to speak even today without irony of peace on earth and without despair to work for it. Peace isn't just making it so that you don't listen to the other voices around you. to the noise that invades. Peace is being in a space where you are working to truly bring that sense of completeness, fullness, fulfillment to every single person. And how many have at least one person in your life that you don't want their dreams fulfilled because they seem to clash with yours? They seem to not be the ones you want. Ignoring them does not bring peace. And the listening to them will bring unsettling to your soul. Will make it so you have to struggle with what do you hold on to and what do you not hold on to. But the listening itself begins a process of peacemaking. As you try to struggle with how can we sit together. So at that funeral, I sat with one of my sister's friends. They lived across from Sarah and Corey for 20 years. And when I say that, I mean that they were bright red, Mormon, Republican, conservative. Right? Because that's who lives across from my sister. And we began to talk about those political issues. Those places where we easily get into the struggles of who's right and who's wrong. Now, I don't know if it was that we were at a funeral, or if it was because he was open, or maybe because I was open. But for some reason, instead of evolving into the negative that those conversations often have, we had a real conversation. Where we were listening and hearing around issues like immigration, where we were far apart, but we heard each other. We were able to speak truth. Things like the LGBT issues. The Mormon Church has taken a very strong anti-stance. We were able to be in that space together. And it was a refreshing thing to me, because I didn't expect it. Go up to a space like that almost thinking that it's going to be the opposite. And yet somehow in that conversation, I heard peace in me and in him. See, peace is being willing to step into a space, a surrender to that space and to that other person, to be able to be in a space where we try to hear and be with each other. It's not codependently going in there and just doing whatever they want. That's not peace. It's stepping into that space and being changed by that space, even as that space changes the other person. Peace is choosing a longer, larger vision than just whatever is right in front of me at the moment. It's not the short-term solution to this problem. It's seeing something beyond just this moment. Because if we go just to my solution, it often leads to violence in return. Not always violence from you, but violence from the other person. And sometimes they will sense that whatever you're doing feels like violence towards them, which, of course, easily escalates, right? But when we stop, we take the time to listen to the truth of the promises that are somewhere beyond, it helps us get past this current pothole in which we find ourselves. The question in each moment is, are we with this person, and in this reaction, are we adding to the unpeace, or are we helping that larger vision be seen by ourselves and by them? To do that, we have to remember to remember. Because in that moment, we all forget. In that moment where that person is challenging something of us, we easily hold on to that and often use it to beat the other person, which is anything but peace, just so you know. But if we remember that there's greater vision here, that there's something more, if we remember that, maybe we step a little closer towards peace. Mother Teresa said this: I will never attend an anti-war rally, but if you have a peace rally, invite me. You see, anti-war is dealing with your issue. It's more short-term, but peace looks beyond that. It says, what else can be true. It's looking at the promised destination, not the pothole you're about to go into. Not the challenge right now, but what it is that you want to get to. That passage from Isaiah 40 is a passage that I've struggled with a lot, and it was mostly because of my friend Terry. Terry would quote that passage and said, "The grass withers, but the word of God lives forever." By which she meant, whatever I think about God is what's right, so quit arguing with me. But I've used passages that way too, haven't you? I've said, here's the truth, and so quit arguing, in order to get peace in that moment. But it didn't really bring peace, did it? Because whenever we shut down voices, that unrest continues in them, even if we find a moment of quiet. We can never force peace. We must work towards it. And that takes listening. Lots of listening to each other. It takes seeing that bigger picture, and it takes caring enough about the person on the other side of the struggle to realize that there are two things that they really need. That struggle is causing some kind of discomfort in them, and they need to find comfort around whatever is causing that. And if you're so busy saying your right answer, even if you're right that it's right, that you don't look at their discomfort, then you're never going to have peace with them. Because they need to know that you felt and are helping them to find comfort in whatever is there. Because they are, secondly, looking for a way out of whatever struggle has placed them in that moment. And if you don't listen long enough to be able to say, I understand, and maybe here is a way we find a way out together. If you don't hear that and help to find that way out, then they can never hear you either. If either is overlooked, then peace will not be achieved. So we come to this Sunday. We come to it every year because we forget. Or new conflicts come up. Or suddenly something just hits poignantly, like a new shooting. And makes us open our eyes again to some of the pain, some of the struggle, some of the discomfort. And we need to find peace once again. It will help if you remember that there's always a larger picture and more stuff at work than what you imagine. If you stay in the small picture, you think, well, if you're like me at least, you think that I can solve it all. My ideas are enough. But just like these Tehan bags, there's a larger picture. See, our kids make some beautiful bags. They've done wonderful, haven't they? But those bags need to go to Tehan, where they're filled with stuff. And someone needs to do that filling, and someone else needs to do that donating. And all of those bags then need to be given to the people who need to receive them. And those are really important things that give in those bags, things like toilet paper. The stuff of life, the stuff that makes more comfort be found. But it's a lot of different people who make that to happen. And in every case, in every moment, there's a larger picture of people working to bring resolution to any particular discomfort, any particular conflict. And if you see your idea and your work as being the key component, rather than that larger picture, right, that your stuff may fade. But guess what? There's something more that is still at work there. That's what that passage really means. That God is working not just through me, not just through St. Francis, not just through all the stuff that agrees with me, but in a larger sense. There is a presence that is moving in this world. And if we lose sight of that larger work, if we ever forget that it's there, then we often, too often, work against the peace we think we want. That doesn't mean we become passive or Pollyanna about it. We have to learn to trust. No. We have to learn to depend on something more than just us. We have to learn to trust and depend on a presence, doing stuff that we can't do. Mother Teresa said this: the problem with our world is that we draw the circle of family too small. See, God is at work in a lot of places that we don't always understand, and when we think we understand them, we often agree with some of those places. But God's working somehow there. There's a presence inside of that person, and they are seeing something. They're saying, how do I solve that? And sometimes that solving that they're seeing works against what I think needs to be solved. But unless I can place myself into that space with them, where we talk, where we share, where we hear each other's problems, we will never come to peace. There's a Native American saying that says, the left wing and the right wing both belong to the same bird. If one's gone, it puts that bird in a pretty precarious place, doesn't it? Somehow we need both to be able to fly. If we have no peace, says Mother Teresa, it is because we've forgotten that we belong to each other. Dean, in his prayer, said the opposite of war is creation. Are we creating the relationships that change this world? Are we creating the relationships that will change us, not just them, that will change all of us to be the world that God wants? Because we do a lot of uncreating in each other's lives, don't we? Think the whole national park stuff. Think the impeachment challenges. How do we create instead of uncreating? The most important movements are always towards, the God movements are always moving towards what can be created, what can change in all of us to become. As I sat with that man at the funeral, I realized that grief is always that thing of realizing what can be, of remembering to remember that larger picture. Not just around death, but around what can be in life. That even though we disagreed on many things, that he had a heart touched by God and being led towards something, that somehow we could be in connection, if nothing else, because he loved my sister like I love my sister. I needed to be with family yesterday to remind me to remember, but I needed to be with you today to remind me to remember. And we all need that on a regular basis. We need to speak to each other. We need to talk with each other. We need to find comfort in each other so that truly we can find peace. All those babies around me reminded me that well, let me just say, I haven't been pregnant yet. But there's something amazing that happens in those 9 months. From everything I hear, they're not the easiest months to go through. There's a bunch of discomfort. There's a bunch of stuff that I think easily would make me want to say, yeah, I'll choose a different path. But you know what gets you through those 9 months, I think? Is that you're looking and seeing what's going to be. You're looking and seeing a baby that's going to emerge into this world and do something. And you're not just looking at the birth itself, you're also looking at the life and the hopes of what that life can do. And if you look at just the pain of this moment, this morning sickness or the cramps or whatever it happens to be, if that's all you see, you'd never make it to that birth, would you? But if you look at that birth and you remember what can be, your peace grows. That's what we have to do as well. We have to choose to leave behind just what's comfortable, just what's easy. Put the warm bed sometimes in the rear view mirror. Put our comfortable definitions behind us and step into that scary space that right now feels like unpeace, but which leads to what peace really is. Martin Luther King said, "Peace is not merely a goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal." Be brave. Do the hard work that makes it so that we truly seek for peace. Not just quiet, but peace that passes